SJ, welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar.
All right, everyone. We have a special guest in here this morning, and his name is Bob Harmon. And I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello, good morning. I was in here at the end of 2020, and Morgan and Gary were kind enough to have me on the show, and I'm back because I had a book called A Moses Prayer for Easter at the end of 2020, and we were getting ready to make a feature film with actor Dean Cain, and that is actually out now, available on Amazon Prime. My wife checked it this morning. You can rent it for the amazing low price of $1.99.
All right. Do you want to talk about what you were doing last week in Texas with your film?
Yes. I was trying to promote the film because, guys, I know nothing about this whatsoever, all the entertainment business. I was in radio years ago and just for a little bit, and then I guess they thought that was enough, so they canned me. But anyway, I've tried to have fun with entertainment the best I can to keep sane while running a family business. I went down to Texas. There was around 200 people at a little faith-based festival. I was trying to promote my film, A Moses Prayer for Easter. It's fully finished. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's a cute little Easter story for the whole family.
And so that's kind of what we were talking about last time you were here. And so you've gotten really far with this film. And like you said, you've got some special actors in there. And so what was your favorite part about making this film? I know you wrote the book. So
yes.
How was that transformation into making it into a film?
Well, that was quite a story. I didn't know how to do any of this because I didn't take any of this in school. I just had to Google it. And, of course, I'm older to Google it. It takes a while to do that, too. But, Morgan, so the whole answer, I guess, to your question is I entered film contest, a screenplay contest, and eventually a fellow reached out to me out of West Virginia and said, I think I can turn this into a feature film. And so he rewrote a lot of it, and now we have a product, and I'm just amazed.
So what's been your role in the production of this film?
My role was to basically agree with this company, and my wife and I even invested just a little bit to make sure the film gets done. Faith-based films usually are done on just a very small budget, and so we did that, and a lot of permission and looking at things, and just the fact that it got done was amazing to me.
All right, and we're just in time for Easter, so can you kind of describe how Easter ties into this story? Like, what's it about?
Absolutely.
Again, real quick. Yeah.
And it is based on the book, but the whole thing is you've got a family of four, a mom and dad and two daughters, and Friday of Easter weekend, they're watching the old movie that I grew up with, and Gary probably anyway, the Ten Commandments with Yul Brynner and Charlton Heston.
Yes, Moses.
And so, it's an Easter tradition to watch that movie. So what I thought is how fun it might be that this family of four is watching this movie on Friday of Easter weekend, and the father doesn't want to go to church, and instead he's going to go fishing Friday Easter morning, and his girls don't really think that's a good idea. They want to go to church. And so they pray that night that maybe the 10 plagues of Exodus might come, change their dad's heart like Pharaoh's, and we have to see if that comes true Saturday if they have a chance to go to church on Sunday.
So I know that you also have two kids, and they're grown now. So does this kind of translate into your family dynamic?
It really does. Amazingly enough, the first names of all the characters for that family are the names of my wife and I and our kids. So yes, it did get into that, and a lot of it because I had no idea how to do this, so I did base it some on the family. And
Now, which family names are we talking about? About your own or the Egyptian pharaoh? I mean, do you have a son named Ramses? Or...
No, Gary. Actually, it's Robert and Angie and Katie and Anna and Then I just chose a generic last name of Jones.
Okay, yeah. Keeping up with the Joneses,
Yeah,
huh?
keeping up with the Joneses, yeah.
So have you ever ran into a situation where you were wanting to go fishing over going to church and your family was trying to persuade you not to do that?
I haven't quite done that. I have made excuses through the years, and my father used to say if he did something or attended two church things on a weekend, he had church credits.
Oh,
So he
Lord.
didn't have to go for another week or two.
He could go fishing instead.
He could go fishing, yes.
So I know you have a lot of work in this film. What have been some of your highlights or your favorite moments?
Well, I was wondering how on earth they would do the plagues, and they actually animated a lot of the plagues. So you have it, it's kind of like throwbacks to some of the films you've seen years ago, maybe with Disney, Mary Poppins or something, where you've got maybe some of the cartoon frogs or flies or things like that. And I thought, you know what, that's pretty darn clever, and I liked a lot of the actors and things. And I got to tell you, Dean Cain is very naughty in this. I just wanted to punish him for his character being so naughty in this film.
Oh, yeah. So is he like the evil in the film?
Well, he's not good. Yeah. So I would say that, Morgan.
And what's his character?
Well, his character is one that he's one of the, he is the boss, and he's going to meet these people, and he sure doesn't really believe in church for any reason at all. And so his brother is a preacher in this, and they don't really get along, kind of like siblings do sometimes.
Okay, and so that's kind of funny because he's like the Clark Kent guy, right? And,
Yes.
and now he's the bad guy in your film.
Yeah, I guess he's got definitely a wide range of acting, but yeah, he's just naughty in this, and you're just thinking, my gosh, this guy needs to reform somehow.
Right, and I guess that's the moral of your story, right?
That is a lot of that in there, and without giving it away, it's interesting to see what all clever things they came up with to deal with the characters.
Well, let me talk about motivation here for a second. You're obviously a committed person, strong beliefs in the things that are dear to you. And I'm curious to see where that played into the strength you need or the determination to see this project through. So, like, did it really make you have to do that? They used to say, a voice from on high said, "Go make a movie." Where did your as I say, motivation come from?
A lot of prayer in life as you go through life and see different things. And I thought, well, all of us have different talents in different areas, Gary, and I really felt like maybe I could make a difference here. And just clean, wholesome entertainment, and if it has a faith-based angle, so much the better.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a very faith-based state. So I would assume here, at least in Oklahoma, you would have a ready-made audience. What's been the reaction so far? Have you had any feedback?
Well, I actually played the trailer twice at the Texas Film Festival that I went to, and there was a lot of clapping and applause, and that made me feel good. And I'm just really testing the waters on this and kind of seeing. I'm trying to reach out to churches, and I would love to have found a church or two to show this, because unlike, Passion of the Christ or something huge like that, they have multi-million-dollar budgets, and I basically have me, a dad, in a van going down the road.
And you're not, like you said, you don't know much about this. You're actually like an oil guy, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I am a petroleum geologist in real life.
In real life. And so how's that transition in not battling, but like kind of trying to handle those two different very lifestyles?
I would say that I chose entertainment also. I've always loved this, and I guess this is what happens when they shut down drama in churches. Then I go out to people like me, write screenplays, and heavens, maybe they needed to pray harder about the drama. But anyway, I do it also to stay sane. I love entertainment. And so I started writing screenplays and doing things like that. And so while I'm running the business, that also made me think. We nearly folded at the end of 2020, like so many businesses on the planet with COVID. And so did a lot of praying, and I thought, maybe we should just tell our story and just say how thankful we are, but also mention history of oil and gas and different things from a whole different perspective that I could mention. And so we actually shot a pilot for a oilfield reality series of all things.
Yeah, and do you want to kind of talk about that, the story behind it, and how that ties into you? And
I would love to. Yeah, this just came about because I had met some people at film festivals, and they said, what do you do for a living? I'm a geologist. Well, what do they do? Are they kind of like Indiana Jones? Yeah, maybe, but with oil. But it's not as exciting. And so anyway, met with these people, and they said, you get it out of the ground? Yeah, with pumping units? Yeah. And a lot of it, they had never seen or heard of these, and they said, well, you have all the background. You should consider, maybe using this as a reality show because you've got all the props and everything out in the field. And so that's a lot of what's behind this is just, I have to keep the business going. It was a mom and pop business, and we're just a small family business. And why not? I could have entertainment while I'm also working. That was a lot of my thoughts.
So, was anything filmed on your property by your stuff?
Yes, I actually had the same company, JC Films, out of West Virginia. They came in October, and 2 cameramen and the director. And they came in Tuesday night, and they filmed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and shot like 3 terabytes of film. A lot of film, I guess.
Yeah, that's a lot of film. I know, that's I don't know. I think 1 million gigabytes. I want to say.
I was hoping someone younger
sure.
like you could interpret that.
I know. I used to know it, but I mean, I don't hardly ever use a terabyte of anything because that's a lot of memory. So yeah.
They shot in our office and out in the field, and our whole goal was just to try to present a slice of life that doesn't get much attention, except, of course, now with all this going on overseas, all of a sudden we're in the limelight again, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and I think oil and gas is very important, needs to be highlighted. A lot of people think it's one thing, but it's really not. They think pipelining and whatnot, but then you're like, I have a family business, that I rely on, so.
Yeah, we're not trying to do anything wrong or evil or anything. I mean, the oil is what has made Oklahoma the great state that it is.
Now, you have an opportunity here to do some education of people. Although most everybody in Oklahoma is familiar somewhat with the oil and gas industry and the parts it plays in our economy. But, how many folks out there know what a pump jack is? So do you know, did you take the opportunity then to teach people about the business?
We did do some of that. We showed what a tank battery is, where it's collected, the pumping units. I got into just a little bit of the history, and I hope to show some of that. And I even made some old-fashioned maps, which drives my modern-day geologist friends nuts because they want to do it on computer. And so I actually showed paper maps, Gary.
There's a lot to be said for those because if the power goes out, you don't need to worry about it.
Well, and as my glasses get thicker, I can also still see it.
Right.
And it's hard to erase unless you got a really big eraser, huh?
Yeah.
So were any of the JC Films crew, did they learn anything?
Yes, I actually got to educate some of them on how the business is, and I even gave one of them an oil field sign to take with him, and just different things like that, and showed them some books and articles that I had written. And but yes, it is a fascinating business. It's something that we live every day, and like Gary said, just to show them how some of the equipment works and how it is in the field, and it's old wells. Some of ours date back to World War I.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, and they're still in operation?
Yes.
I think I've got one of them on land in Bristow.
Oh, really?
Ancient thing. Now, with the production of this series, then, does it really get into the economics? Like, what does it cost you to do this, and what's the industry like? Is it really worth it right now? What sort of conclusions did you draw?
Well, and that's something, right now we just shot basically an overview of everything we had. And then what we're going to do with this pilot episode is start shopping it to networks. And your questions are exactly very relevant. That's the kind of thing I hope that can be addressed in the future. How much further do we have to go with a business like this and different things, how it's important to the world. We make fertilizers and plastics in addition to fuel.
Now, the attitude toward fossil fuels has been evolving and changing over the last few decades. Some people say, we need to get off of them and go to solar or hydro or whatever. Do you address that movement, so to speak, on what you do as a producer? I mean, does it affect your business with people kind of pushing to maybe think, well, let's rethink fossil fuels and quit putting this stuff in our atmosphere.
It absolutely does, and this is things that I hope to say is that we're crucial. We know our energy works, but in the end, I think it's going to take all energies to keep propelling the world, because none of us want to give up our internet or television or different things, and just to have all the energy to run that, you can't do that with just certain segments at this point in time. You need it all.
Oh wow, that's a lot to think about right there. Yeah, a lot to think about. So, as far as the show goes, are you in the show? Like, are you actually in the show? Are you an actor in the show?
Why, yes, a geologist has to be the hero of this show. It was written that way.
It's on camera. You have your own little seat with your name on it and things.
Well, I hope so, yes.
What was it like then trying to translate what might be industry jargon into plain old English so folks like me could understand what you're talking about?
Okay. Yeah, they were continually getting after me, Gary. That's an excellent question. So I had to explain some of it, and not trying to insult anybody, because if you don't know, you don't know. Mm-hmm. And so I would just do the best I can, and they might say, Bob, you need to explain this, or what in the world are you talking about? And so I would, on purpose try to do that. And my guess is there'll be a lot of editing. When we had people in the field, you two will enjoy this. So we had this one guy, and he has a real good country voice when he talks. Said, Bob, if they go ahead and have me on there, they're going to have that bleep button used quite a bit.
Oh my God.
My language is a little salty. I said, I'm sure they can do that, Steve.
Oh, Lord, that's hilarious.
Okay, we'll semi-describe this operation for you. Don't mind the bleeps.
Yeah.
Now get the bleep moving here.
There may be a lot of blackout time in the show. I don't know, Gary.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's hope that enough of it is retained to keep your story going. Now, just looking at some of the topic in your material here, you get this series discusses the quote legacy of old wells.
Yes.
And the cost of keeping wells running and how to make money from them. Those are three subjects I'm sure people are really interested, particularly those who may have some operation on their land. So first part of that thing is, what does it cost to keep a well running? And I presume that would depend on the size of the operation, right?
It really does. It depends on so many things: the integrity of your casing in the hole, all your infrastructure in the field, how much product that it makes as far as oil and gas, and also water, and how you dispose of that, and just a lot of economics. And you really need to take a hard look at all of that and see what you can do to keep it economic for the working interest as well as the mineral owners.
Mm-hmm. And I presume there's some environmental questions you have to answer.
Oh, yeah, there's always all that kind of thing that you have to be aware of, too, and so you simply do the best you can, and a lot of times a small company like us, you have to hire a lot of third parties to help you with all of this, to keep it all in check.
Is there like an average size, and I'm asking that in relation to cost? Somebody might have just one operation going on their land, what's that going to cost them for a year, I think?
Oh, as far as the company that operates it?
Yeah,
or well, my goodness, the main thing that you try to do is, well, I guess, Gary, the best way to do it is I got a 3-step program for running a company. The first step, and this is true of any lease you have, any oil wells, your first step is to lose as little money as possible. Step 2 is to break even. Step 3 is to maybe make some money. Honestly, it's like this with old legacy wells that have been around World War II or before. Most of ours date to World War II and Korean wars as far as time period. So what I try to do, and my father before me, is do what you can. You have to spend money to make money in this business, but the sad truth is a lot of your wells don't work out. And so you better have some that do if you're going to stay in business. And so you trim cost, you do what you can, chemical treat, different things downhole to see if you can make it economic, sometimes open up another formation that you have rights to that wasn't opened.
So all of your knowledge about this, does this tie into your big project about your Mvskoke man? Do you want to talk about that?
I would love to talk about that. Back at the end of 2020, when you two were kind enough to have me out here the first time, I had mentioned that my next project would be a feature film based on the Creek tribe and Creek lands with oil and gas, and that I would have, of course, a geologist again as the hero. I don't know why I keep coming back to that, but his name, actually, you'll love this, his name would be James Harjo, and there would be a medicine man healer in this named Miko Yehola, and I was going with a lot of the good Creek names and different things, and basically how I see this would be a Mvskoke Creek version of Killers of the Flower Moon with the Osage. And what I would dearly love is to get this going, and I didn't think I had much chance till I went to this film festival last week. I met 2 actresses, and anyway, they were super with all this. And Veronica and Veronica Clayton and Jessica Ray, and they're going to help me bring this into fruition. They are both accomplished actresses and screenwriters.
Oh, wow, that's exciting.
And they're going to help me finish writing this and getting everything out there, and so I am tickled to death about this. And I was just going to ask you two, I would love to start building up a kind of some resumes of Native American actors, if they could maybe email me at just mosesprayerforeaster@gmail.com and send me some information on them, because eventually I would love to have some of these actors in this. My wife had even said, maybe you need Wes Studi or something. I said, oh, love to have Wes Studi.
Can you afford him, though?
Yeah. That's why we're going to have to do lots of talking and seeing who we can reach out to, Gary. Or my well's going to have to do a lot better than it is.
You're going to start out with Osio Tohija.
Yes, and I'm even looking at having some of the Creek language in this, seriously, because I want this to have the real flavor and stuff from the 1920s. And I think we can tell a wonderful story. Jackson Barnett was the world's richest Indian. We don't need to forget the Mvskoke Creek contribution to oil and gas, which was huge.
So how do you know that history? Is that something that you've learned growing up being in the field, or?
No, Morgan, actually, I went ahead and studied all this because it was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see what I can do to highlight the Mvskoke tribe. Much like I'm way down the list from Sterling Harjo, but that guy is such a genius, what he's done with his stuff and highlighted the Creek tribe. I just think whatever we can do, by golly, to tell our story and do it in an entertaining way, why not?
So what's your plans with this? Is this going to be a movie, a series?
Right now, we're really thinking a feature film, and this is why I did a Moses Prayer first, because with it, you just had to have a house and a church. Whereas here, you've got to have lots and lots of actors, actresses. You've got to have all the film, and actually, it would be on a boom town with old derricks made of wood back in the 20s. It's like, oh my goodness, the cost. My wife would probably just as soon have me sit over in the corner near a jail facility as far as trying to help with this one. So.
Do a movie about a jail. Yeah, a lot of people are becoming aware of the associated costs in productions like this. And then you mentioned Sterling Harjo's work, and of course he was in Okmulgee here shooting some of that. People had no idea how involved it is. No.
It seems like Mvskoke people are making their way in the entertainment business more and more. And is that something that kind of motivated you, seeing, all these, like Sterling Harjo himself or others, kind of get more successful in their filmmaking?
Yes, definitely. And I even tried out, I know I probably don't have a snowball's chance like they say, but I even tried out to be a part-time person, or in the background of his...
like an extra.
An extra! I couldn't think of the word, guys. Thanks. Yeah, I even applied to be an extra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with his... in case they need an older guy in the back that, maybe if it's dark, then I might be able to act in that little corner or something. Who knows? But I've been extremely pleased to see what all he has done. And he's made a wonderful series. And just, I would love to hopefully somehow rather meet the man someday and just talk to him about entertainment.
Maybe you'll run into him one day.
I would love that.
Maybe he'll show up to one of your screenplays.
Maybe so. I sure hope so. It would be awesome.
Invite him. I've chatted with him a little bit, and very likable.
Well, I'll just have to, bribe you two and see whenever he's going to come in here to talk, and I'll just come in here and maybe do something or bring donuts or something. Let me know.
We'll set it up for you.
Fry bread.
Bring the fry bread.
That can be done.
So what about Muskogee culture and oil do you bring to the film industry?
Well, now that's a whole different deal because we don't really have any leases right around this area. Believe it or not, I was actually on the board of the log library, and what that is a library of old well logs and data in Tulsa. And I actually tried to get the Mvskoke Creek Nation interested in making a joint venture there. And while that didn't work, I had a heck of a good time visiting with some higher-ups over here at our main headquarters and talking to them about that. But here again with entertainment, my main gist is to make an entertaining film and also to highlight as much of our tribal history and different things and just make it rich and recognize the Mvskoke Nation.
Okay, and you said so your family's from Dustin originally,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so did your parents buy land in Owasso that you live now, or was that allotted land, or do you know?
No, none of that was allotted. It wasn't down in Dustin either. We were the second or third biggest landowner down there at one time, used to run cattle ranches and things. And my grandmother, where I get my Indian heritage from, she taught in a one-room schoolhouse down there years ago. And I just loved all that history. And anyway, I've just grown up with a lot of it. Used to ranch cows, and so yeah. And the rest of the story is, yeah, if it was a low-income job, I had almost all of them in my life. I've worked all of them, so you can I could tell you about jobs you don't need to have.
From oil man to feature film writer, and wow, like we got a jack of all trades in the radio show today, and he's very talented.
Let me ask you a question or two about, as they call it, the other side of the coin. Now, Oklahoma has been very dependent on the growth of the oil industry for practically everything. But a lot of that history is not very nice. Like we mentioned, the Osage film and people being murdered there. There were all kinds of talks about, land swindles and people, marrying somebody just to get a hold of the oil rights and things like that. Does your work address that side, the dark side of that development?
Gary, it absolutely does. And that was what I was going to bring into this for more of the interplay with the characters. But we actually have a couple that is attacked and beaten up to sign a lease to get their oil rights. And I actually do address that in my feature film.
Oh, wow. That's really deep stuff, and sometimes I feel like it's overlooked in history, Are there any are you going based off of a story that you know personally, or is that just something that you know to be, relevant in history?
Well, I got to tell you, I actually worked in Creek Nation Bingo, 88 to 91. It's starting to tell my age, which is kind of scary, Gary. But anyway, and had a great time working. I really got to know Creek Nation citizens then, and so I based some of it on that.
All right. So, do you want to leave your email one more time, because we're about to have to wrap up with this segment, and so you are wanting to get resumes and maybe some photos or whatever for Native American actors? Yes,
it's going to be called Oklahoma Boomtown. It's my feature film about Native Americans and old times, and just address it, email mosesprayerforeaster@gmail.com.
Anybody specific, all ages, all?
Well, really right now I'm specifically looking for males in the around 35 to early 30s to early 40s for the main geologist hero, and then also Native American for around early 50s to 60s.
All right, everybody, there might be your chance to make it big one day.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have a projected date when this series may be ready for air?
Well, right now the television series that we're doing, we're supposed to get the pilot back and shop it, and I'm just right now hoping the pilot will come out, and if we shop it, I'm probably thinking possibly next year we may shoot.
Okay, great. Let us know and we'll chat about it.
Okay, everybody, we're back, and we're about to play a pre-recorded piece for you guys that Gary has provided. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah. Thanks for listening here to Mvskoke Radio on the Brew 106.3 FM and 1240 AM. We all experienced the political activity regarding the imprisoned activist Leonard Peltier some weeks back. In downtown Tulsa, in front of the county courthouse, a group assembled calling for his release, a pardon on humanitarian and medical grounds, saying that he'd been in there long enough and that that penalty had been paid. You may or may not agree with it, but this group showed up and shared their views in front of the courthouse. But unfortunately, there was a clash with the local police force, Tulsa PD officers, and some of the participants. Now, we've heard some news reports looking at the overall incident, but Jared Moore, in his TV programming, had the chance to chat with one of the gentlemen who was involved in the incident, and had this interview to share with us.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of Livewire. I'm your host, Jared Moore, and today we're going to have with us Mr. Chuy Cavazos, and he is with the American Indian Movement in Indian Territory, and he also runs the Oklahoma Community Watch YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us today, Mr. Cavazos.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, and just for a little context for the audience, the reason we're having Mr. Cavazos on today is because a couple of weeks ago we ran a story that was an update on some protesters being charged in tribal court. And this was as a result of an altercation that happened at a protest to free Leonard Peltier. There was a video associated with that story that we put in the video and had a link that was from Mr. Cavazos' Oklahoma Community Watch channel. We put a link to his channel and that video in the video description of this video, but it's also, and that story is also in our video description. If you're just watching this, you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, go watch that video and it'll get you up to date on the events. But we got contacted by Mr. Cavazos to have him come in and tell what happened, because there is, I think a lot of people are curious about what led up to the actions that we saw in the video, because it's kind of scary, really, and then the everything that happened after that. So thanks for coming on the program, and if you would, could you tell us, kind of like what led up to that confrontation that happened?
Well, to my knowledge, it was a peaceful day. We had a lot of prayer, singing, praying, speaking about Leonard. And we were parked there in that area for over 2 hours in that same area that they're talking about. Several officers passed by, never said a word. And all of a sudden this officer pulls up real close between the cars and gets out and starts yelling, "You guys got a permit to block the roads?" and all that. And so I walked over there when I heard the commotion, that's when I had my attention to there.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, me, I'm trying to de-escalate, making fun, hey, your tent's too dark, just trying to change things around. But the officer just got in his car, got out of his car, got back in, got out. And they're trying to say we're blocking traffic, and there's several other videos out that clearly shows that there's no video that we did not block the traffic. But this officer came up, one of the gentlemen, one of the warriors was telling him, call light horsemen, get out of here, call light horsemen. And that's what I was yelling also.
Mm-hmm.
And he continued to put hands on the warrior. And he advised him, you could hear him clearly on my video, where he clearly states, if you continue to put hands on me, I would, like an act of war, and I will defend myself accordingly. And he continued to do it and escalated to where it ended up happening.
Right. Right after the video ends, could you kind of tell us, like what happened after that? What was the results of that? The repercussions.
Well, they had 2 arrests. And then everybody just stood around. They stood around for about another hour. I think they were trying to see if we're going to disperse or leave. And
You're
we
talking
stood
about the
our
federal
ground.
agents and the police officers.
Yes. And so we stayed uh, when they put him in the car and all that. But after that, it was pretty, pretty calm, But we got to understand, there's a lot of things that went wrong in this video. Besides where the officer got pushed down, a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's a bad thing. I want to let everybody know we have the right to defend ourselves on unlawful touch, even from law enforcement. They do not have any control or power over you until you broken the law. That officer, what he should have done was either got in his vehicle and stayed in there until backup came, or left and then waited till backup came. So he violated a lot of policies.
Yeah, and we're kind of doing some coverage on our end. We've done, Mvskoke Media has actually filed for a FOIA to try to get from the Department of Justice, and I'm talking about the federal government, what the guidelines are for local law enforcement inside the reservation as to how what are they being trained as far as how they're supposed to handle these situations when they're dealing with native citizens, right? I'm just curious, did any Light Horse or any native law enforcement ever show up?
No, not to my knowledge. And I was there till the end. I waited till all our elders were gone, and then that's when I left.
I see.
So, not at one time. There's another thing that really bothers me is, as a lot of us know, our medallions and our jewelry that we wear is sacred. Okay. Well, the Warrior Brother has, I have it on video. You can go see it on the video, one of the videos I got. Where he clearly says, could I get a native, could I get someone to take this off? Well, he had a knife there too, but he wasn't talking about the knife. He was talking about his medallion. And they blatantly, and there was a native officer there. That would have, you know what I'm saying? It would have been okay for him.
Right.
And they violated that too. They're violating our rights left and right. And it's sad.
With the situation being as it is, and I want to again tell the audience, this is, if you have any questions for Mr. Cavazos about the incident or anything else, go ahead and pop them into the chat and we'll ask away. And while we're talking about it too, your Oklahoma Community Watch YouTube channel, and for the audience, there's a link to his channel in the description of this video. Could you kind of talk about what you're doing there? Because there's some interesting videos there, and what's your objective with that?
My objective is to hold police accountable and also to educate not only the public, but sometimes we have to educate law enforcement. And there's a lot of people that their rights have been violated and they don't know their rights, and they're afraid to get out there because of retaliation. Well, and no matter what we do, there has to be a warrior somewhere, and that's where I think I step in, and I want to make sure people learn their rights. I try to have a little fun while I'm out there doing it when I'm cop watching. I'm usually pretty respectful, but it depends on how the officers come up to me. I got a couple videos where my language ain't the nicest, like on this last video.
Right.
But it's part of what happens in the heat of that moment, and
Yeah.
I can't go and apologize for the actions at that time, because at that time it was the heat of the moment. So
Well,
I'm not going to apologize for my actions. So
you guys also
I'm out
had
there
weapons drawn on you, so the adrenaline is definitely going to be there in that situation.
yeah, but that happens also in the auditing world. I usually go and film cops when they pull you over, or if there's a wreck, I try to document that. And things of interest, public interest, and public meetings, things that the movement does, educate people, because some people could get out too. And I like to show them what the raw footage, and I'm just trying to be paying back to society,
Yeah. And it's something that people aren't exposed to a lot too. You'll find, or I find, that because the mainstream media has to maintain relations with police forces and things, so they don't want to show any type of infringements or anything. And a lot of times if you go, there are a lot of channels on YouTube all over the country, and you can Google it if you're in the audience. You don't know what auditing the police is, just Google it. You can see what it entails. So how did you get involved with the American Indian movement?
Well, thanks for asking. That's a good question. Growing up in California, my family was involved in the Chicano movement back in the 70s, and so I was brought up in knowing about AIM, knowing about Leonard Peltier, and all these other great warriors before me. And when I moved out here to Oklahoma, I've heard, I heard about AIM, so I followed them, and I would support them and go to them, and I prayed to the Creator one day, and the Creator said in my heart that it was time for me to take that step and stop being behind the scenes and stepping forward. And so I was good friends with AIM Indian Territory, everybody there. And so before I did that, what I did though is what a lot of people don't do is I'm kind of old school. So out here where I'm at, the Camp family are the first AIM for Oklahoma. Carter Camp, everybody knows them in the movement. Casey Camp, all the Camp family. I went and got their blessings, one of the Camp brothers' blessings prior to going and offering my, my services. So, and that's how I got into it. It's just, I've always been an activist in one way, shape, or form, but I've always been behind the scenes. But, like I said, the Creator told me it was time for me to stand up and be up in front.
I see. So the individuals that got charged from this situation, their charges got transferred down to the tribal court, and that's what our previous coverage was when that was announced by the nation. Do you know if AIM is planning on doing protests down here in relation to this? Because I know we've seen on social media a lot of calls for some charges to be brought on the officers and so on and so forth. Do you know of any plans on that type of stuff, or has AIM been in contact with the Creek Nation government or anything?
As far as I know, I've not heard nothing of that nature. I've kind of been busy with other stuff over here on our side. Mm-hmm. I could just say this. We just lost a sister, Lana Kay, here recently, so we've been kind of mourning her.
I see.
And I just want to say God bless her. So, she
I'm
was
sorry
a
for
great
your loss,
woman.
sir.
But she was a great woman. But that's why I've kind of just been sitting back, and just doing my mourning. But I am in contact with the two that were charged. I don't know if they found that third person. I don't really know the third person. So
could you elaborate on that? I was just going to say, could you elaborate on the third person a little bit? Because for some of the people that might not have been following this on social media, they might not know, like what that topic is.
Okay, there was a third person that was involved in the moving of the officer between the cars. I guess during that, and there was a gentleman there with tattoos on his hands and on his face, and we've seen him a few times, but we weren't really familiar with him. Mm-hmm. And apparently they were looking for him also.
I see.
But but all they were saying at first is that they were looking for the guy with the tattoos on his hands. So
I see.
A lot of people were wondering who.
Right. Yeah, that's broad net.
Yeah.
So, with the ongoing situation since the McGirt ruling, in particular, with these on the boots on the ground jurisdictional problems, do you know if are there any protests that AIM is planning in the future in the Tulsa area or in the Mvskoke reservation in particular?
I believe we're discussing possibly doing something in the near future, but I think right now everybody's still trying to.
I see. Go through the morning.
It's a big. Yeah, it's been a little heavy for a lot of people, you know, even with the arrest, you know, coming up with the funds to get the brothers out, you know, just all the, you know, so everybody's kind of taking a little
I see.
slow down.
On the planning front, has there been any discussion of maybe, you know, like for instance, before you guys go do a protest or something, contacting Light Horse and seeing if Light Horse can escort you guys or something like that, like contacting tribal law enforcement? Because it's kind of a situation.
I know in the past they have done that. I'm not the one involved in the coordinating of the protest. I'm more in the background, so
I
pretty
gotcha.
much excuse me. What I do for AIM is I'm security. I'm security, but also I'm mainly the videographer, and I make sure to try to document our events of what happens in case things like this happen.
I see. We've got a question in here, and I don't know, it's not really directed, it's not AIM specific or anything like that. We have a regular viewer, TY Prol. He asks, should Mvskoke tagged vehicles driven by citizens run toll booths inside the res boundaries without paying in protest? Just for me to answer that, I would say I wouldn't recommend it, just for the fact that right now they have all those traffic cameras, and that with the if you look at the coverage that we have previously, right now income tax is being debated at the federal level, whether the native citizens are going to pay that. So I can guarantee you any traffic fines or anything like that, they're just going to go ahead and mail it out to your address. In fact, I think they actually started a program on the Creek Nation Turnpike in Tulsa where like you can go through those things and they just take a picture of your license plate and then they mail you. It's not a fine, they just charge you, they send you a thing trying to get you to pay whatever the toll was. But what do you think on that, sir?
Don't break no laws.
I think that's it. That's a good advice to give anybody. Don't break any laws.
Well, if you want to do something in protest, do it smart, do it legal. That
Right.
way they can't come back after you.
Yeah.
You break the law, you got a reason to mess with you. You could protest legally, like our event at the actions at the event on the 7th. In my eyes and in my heart and in my knowledge, I feel that it was legal and constitutional, all of our actions that day. So
Yeah.
you know, that's why I say you do everything legal, and that's why I feel what we did was, if I thought we did something wrong, I would admit, yeah, we shouldn't have done this or we should have done that. But you know, the one thing we're forgetting is we got a constitution, and we're forgetting that. Our Constitution overrides all your policies, all your laws. It's the top law of the land, you know.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And people are forgetting about the Constitution, and it's, you know, it's sad that. But we got to remember, our Constitution gives us the right to do what we do. Man.
Yeah.
So don't break the laws. If you want to protest it another way, make a sign, go stand somewhere. Don't do anything that's going to cost you more money at the end of the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, it's also, that's an important thing to do, is if you're going to do any type of protest action or anything, you really need to take the time before you do anything and educate yourself on your rights and what you can and can't do, so that just like when you're put in one of those situations where things are getting heated, you know exactly when law enforcement or somebody in the group that you're protesting with has stepped over the line into breaking the law. So it's very good advice to understand your own rights, and the information is out there, even if it maybe isn't being taught in school the way that it needs to be. Sir, I want to thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And I want to also encourage the audience that if you're watching this and you're interested, go check out Oklahoma Community Watch. It's a very cool channel. There's a lot of stuff in there that, you know, I'm actually surprised isn't getting a lot more even national media coverage. There were some confrontation videos between natives and other people. That I saw a video on your channel that with a guy that was throwing white power symbols at some native kids.
Right.
That to me, it was amazing that was even happening here, or wherever, So go check out his channel, and you're gonna keep posting, I'm assuming, like you have been.
Oh yeah, I got more videos to post, and I might be bringing some old videos just to refresh people's memories. Just I've if I could just take a second, I've been filming with a lot of the bigger YouTubers, bigger than me, And before I get out of here, I would just want to thank a couple of them real quick.
Oh, sure, absolutely, go for it.
Illinois Tyrant Patrol, good friend of mine, good man, good content on his. San Joaquin Valley Transparency, High Desert Community Watch, Ice Code Audits, West Coast Digital. There's so many guys out there, but those are a few of the people I've filmed with, and they're very good. Well, Nasty Nathaniel, 805 Cop Watch, people like that. You got different areas of the states and all that. Joe Cool is another good one. So there's a lot of good channels out there. Google them up. You're gonna find good ones. You're gonna find bad ones, and just like in everything else that you look for. So, but I want to thank you guys once again, Mado. It was my honor.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for being on the program. And I'll tell you what, too, if you're watching this video, what I'm going to have is, I can call you Chewy, right? I'm going to have Chewy email me all of those channels, and I'll try to get the links to those YouTube channels and get them into the information box for this video after the fact. So if you're watching this, you're not watching it live, right? Go check the information box, and we'll try to get links to all those channels. And if you want to go down that rabbit hole, of I'm assuming a lot of those are auditing channels. Is that correct, sir?
A lot of them are auditing channels. They're real good channels. They're in different parts of the California, Illinois, Chicago. So, and you can see the difference, but you see the tyrannic actions of law enforcement, even when they're being filmed.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that I don't think that people see very much, is because when you first see any of those type of videos, it's kind of shocking sometimes, the things that happen in the videos.
Right.
So, well, yeah. So, well, thanks for coming on, sir. And I don't see any more questions in the chat. There's a discussion going on there, but we're at 21 minutes. So is there anything that you'd like to touch on with the topic we were talking about that maybe we didn't discuss or you think is important?
Okay, yeah. But I feel that I'm going to be doing, just to let you guys know, I called IA in Tulsa because I'm trying to I'm going to try to bring charges and also make a complaint on the officer that grabbed my phone.
Okay.
When I was filming, because I was uncalled for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to go make a complaint but I'm probably going to have to get a hold of Creek Nation, and that's going to be another story right there. Is Creek Nation going to be willing to charge this officer for simple assault or simple battery? And then also, I want to make a complaint on the officer that was challenging me to go one-on-one when I was using my First Amendment verbiage on him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, keep us updated on that, because I'm interested to see how that plays out, and I hope you have all the success in the world, sir.
Interesting stuff, Gary.
Well, two of the gentlemen involved in that incident have been charged in Mvskoke District Court, I believe. So there'll be more to that story coming up. Well, should we take the last few minutes in here and do some announcements?
Yeah, let's let everybody know what's going on.
Okay, well, let me start with the big one.
Okay.
Family Fun, June 23rd through the 26th, 2022. The Mvskoke Nation Festival is returning.
Woo! And it's back this year.
Boy, we really missed that, so it's back.
Fingers crossed for no more interruptions, no
Right.
more cancellations.
And we'll keep you posted. As a matter of fact, we're going to have representative from the administration on the program very soon to talk about what's going on there.
Hopefully next week. Stay tuned.
So June 23rd through the 26th, the festival is back.
All right, and tomorrow veterans can join together for coffee and donuts, and this will be at the Veterans Building. A representative from the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs will be in attendance to answer any questions that veterans have concerning their benefits or assistance. For more information, call 918-732-7739 or 732-7716.
As we all know, it's tax time with the filing deadline coming up April 15th as far as we know, so that's the usual deadline for paying your taxes. And the Mvskoke Creek Nation recognizes a lot of us might need some help, so the VITA TCE tax program is back, and you may qualify for earned income tax credit even if you're single and have no children. That'd be nice. So in this program, they're offering free tax return service, expanded EITC eligibility, and they'll prepare McGirt-related exemptions for qualified taxpayers. And it's an electronic free file for the 2019, 2020, 21 federal and state. There'll be technical assistance available, and in-person appointments will operate from 9 to 4 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, you will need an appointment to get the assistance, but it is open to the general public. So call for assistance and appointments, 918-549-2607.
The Mvskoke Tribal Child and Youth Coalition is still needing volunteers. Sign up it says to yesterday, but I'm sure if you call Nancy Mason at 918-549-2557, you can offer your help for Monday, March 15th and 14th and Tuesday, March 15th.
A wonderful group. Okay, now back to the second major topic we have of importance for our listeners, and that's Wild Onion Dinners. The next one is the 12th, New Hope United Methodist Church in Dewey, and then on the 19th, Tulsa Indian Methodist Church in Tulsa.
And then the Big Casetta Church on March 19th and Fife Indian UMC on March 25th. And it looks like we're kind of running out of time here today, or we would share all these with you. But I'm sure they're posted on Facebook and stuff. If you don't know, ask your friends. I'm sure they can direct you to a wild onion dinner of some sort.
Okay, well, I want to say Mado Mabo Hedjitscut, Gary Fife, Jaho Jifkidos.
And Muddo, Morgan Taylor, Jaho Jifkados. Hope everybody has a nice Wednesday. It's starting to warm up out there, and spring weather's coming, and it's going to be nice. Hopefully no more sickness.
And the festival is back. Yay.
I'm so excited. So excited for some festival time this year.
Well, as a reporter, this will be your first time working.
It will. We haven't had it for 2 years, so it'll be interesting to see.
And the shine will wear off very quickly.
All right, everybody. You guys take it easy. Have a good day.
You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.